Hey, welcome to the fascinating world of economics. Everything we do has something to do with economics, from the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the cars we buy, where we go to school, where we go to college. It all has to do with economics. Most decisions in government are all based somehow, have some economic relationship to it. So basically economics is about wants and needs. Okay, so wants are unlimited. As it says, unlimited and ever changing. What that means is the cell phone you got right now is not the cell phone you're going to want a year from now or 2 years from now. There's going to be some new cell phone that comes out that you're going to want it. And so it's unlimited and ever changing. The jeans you have now are not the jeans you're going to want 6 months from now. Or you ladies, sometimes the bathing suit you're wearing this summer, you're not going to wear that bathing suit in that summer, okay? Because there's going to be new fashions out. The shoes we're wearing now, there'll be new things we want later. Technology brings new stuff to us. So wants are unlimited and ever changing. We have far more wants than we have needs. Needs are simply things for survival. Okay, so that's just, we need food. Okay, but we don't need lobster. Lobster is a want. Okay, we need to have clothes, but we don't need a $200 pair of jeans. We just need something to cover our body. Okay, so there, as you can see, there are way more wants than there are needs. Okay, so you have wants and needs. So the main problem of economics is scarcity. And so scarcity exists when there are not enough resources to satisfy human wants. Everything is scarce. Even the dirt outside is scarce. There's only so much of it. Somebody like LeBron James in a market like the United States, or maybe in the European market, where both markets they play basketball, he is extremely scarce. Guys like Tom Brady are extremely scarce. Okay. Oil is very scarce. That's why we pay $4 a gallon for gas, or $3 a gallon for gas. Steel is scarce. That's why we pay so much to buy a car. So everything out there is scarce. Doctors make so much money because they're very scarce. Okay, so generally people who make a lot of money are extremely scarce. If you're making $10 an hour, you're still scarce, but not so scarce really, because they can find somebody else to make $10 an hour. Okay, so who will work for $10 an hour, in other words. So scarcity is the condition when there are not enough resources to satisfy human wants. Money is a resource. We all only have so much of it. Even somebody like Warren Buffett, who has billions of dollars, has to make choices and decisions about how he's going to spend his money. So we all have those kind of choices to make. So economics is the study of how individuals and societies attempt to satisfy unlimited wants with limited resources. Okay, so Japan, for example, they don't have any oil, so they can't make any gasoline. All right, so they have to figure out how are we going to get people around, and so they do a lot of rapid mass transportation with trains and buses and things like that. They have to make a decision about the fact that they have almost no oil. So how are we going to use the resources we have to create public transportation and so on? So basically that's what economics studies. Now individuals have to do it too. Your parents have to figure out, they get a paycheck, they figure out they have to pay the house payment or the rent, they have to pay their car payments, they have to pay their insurance payments, they have to pay their Comcast bill, their cell phone bills, their electric bill, their water bill, and they have to figure out how they're going to pay for the things they want with the limited resources that they have. That's basically what economics studies. Now, how do they do that? Let's move over to here. All right, so in studying economics, they study individual behavior, individual consumers. They study our behavior when we buy things. Walmart is very interested in how we behave. When they put things out on the shelf, if it goes off the shelf, that's a behavior. They study that. They study governmental behavior because governments do have an impact in the economy. They study business behavior. Walmart is a business. How does Walmart react to new things in the market? One of the biggest things Walmart has to react to is Amazon. Everybody has to react to Amazon because Amazon is taking a lot of people's business away. So economists study that. They study individual behavior. How do we behave? Things happen out in the market. How do we react to it? New reports come out about foods, clothing, technology. How do we as individuals react to that? Economists study that. Again, they study governmental behavior. Taxation is one of the biggest things in which government can impact our economy. Okay, so if they raise tax, takes money out of our pocket, it affects our individual behavior. Then you have business behavior. Businesses are taxed as well. And so when businesses are taxed, they generally lay people off because they don't have the money they have. Or if their taxes go down, they reinvest that money and they hire people, generally speaking. Okay, they also study, they organize, analyze, and interpret all this data. And after they study this, and they organize and analyze and interpret the data, they develop theories and economic laws. For example, capitalism is the system we work by. This is the system in the United States. We have capitalism. We have a mixed market economy. Capitalism is a theory that we have in practice right now. In places like Europe, they have social democracies where they combine socialism with a democracy. And so that's their theory, and then they have that in action in Europe. Or like North Korea, they have communism. That's the way they deal with economics there, okay? And they develop economic laws. Now, we as consumers, we buy goods and we buy services. So goods are the physical objects we buy, okay? We go out and we buy jeans, we buy sneakers, we buy cell phones, we buy cars. All those are physical objects. Services is the work that somebody does for somebody else. So for example, if you're feeling sore, you just worked out and your muscles are really sore and you want a massage, you go to the massage place. That is a service. They're providing a service for you. Our economy traditionally for the last 20 years, 30 years has gone from producing goods to producing services. Most of the goods we buy are produced in Asia somewhere. If you walk in Walmart, it's hard to find a product that says made in the USA in Walmart or Target or many, many other stores like Best Buy, for example. Most of that stuff is made in Asia. Some of that is coming back now with the new trade agreements that are going on. But mainly we are a service economy. We provide services for people. Comcast is a service. We buy a physical object, a cell phone, and then we have to buy a service so the cell phone works, okay? So we have consumers and producers that are interacting in the market. Our economy basically is the result of consumers and producers interacting in the market. I am a consumer. I buy an Apple phone. Apple is the producer. I go to Walmart and I buy all kinds of goods at Walmart. I'm a consumer there and I'm a producer. Sometimes producers can be consumers as well. When Apple makes a phone, it doesn't have all those things it makes the phone with in the factory. And so it goes out and becomes a consumer and buys parts from all over the world and has that, even though Apple is in California, it's assembled somewhere in Asia. Okay, so it's sometimes a producer can serve as a consumer as well. Okay, so when we go into McDonald's, we're a consumer. McDonald's is the producer. Okay, now, there's 3 questions that are posed by scarcity. We're going to move over to the next one. All right. Scarcity is a word that you're going to hear for the entire economics course, okay? There's 3 questions posed by scarcity. What are we going to produce? How are we going to produce it? For whom are we going to produce it? Those are the 3 questions posed by scarcity. Now, the question of what to produce, it depends on a country's resources. For example, the United States produces lots of gasoline. We're the biggest producer of refined oil products in the world. Okay, so we make more gasoline than anybody else in the world because we have a ton of oil here. And we're really good at making gasoline. So we produce a lot of gasoline. We produce a lot of cars. And probably the biggest thing that we do better than anybody else in the world is we produce food. We have this massive breadbasket in the middle of our country that's between the Rocky Mountains and the Mississippi River. And in there we produce just enormous amounts of food. And so we produce lots of food. We produce lots of technology. Okay, we're the business center of the world. So what we produce Depends on what our resources is. I mentioned earlier, Japan, it doesn't have any oil, so it produces no gasoline. A country basically can produce what it has resources to support. Okay, so China has lots of people. Okay, so they are become a huge labor market. That's why a lot of the goods we buy in Walmart and Target are produced in China somewhere, because they have lots of people. How are we going to produce it? Depends on our labor force. Is our labor force skilled or are they unskilled? For example, in the United States, we're the biggest producer of food in the world, but less than 2% of our people actually work in agriculture. So how do we do that? How do we produce more food than anybody else in the world, but only 2% of the population works in agriculture? It's because we do it with technology. We have tractors out there in Iowa and Nebraska, and there's not anybody even in the tractor. It's guided by GPS technology from somewhere up in space. The tractor's going down the field, it's planting seed into the ground. Whereas if you go down to Mexico or Central America, they produce agriculture there as well, but it's all done with labor. They have a huge supply of labor, but the labor is unskilled. And so they put human beings out into the fields, and in those countries, it's more efficient for them to use labor in order to produce their agriculture, whether they're producing coffee in Guatemala or they're producing bananas in Costa Rica. It's mainly done with human labor. Okay, so how you produce something depends on your labor force. Are they skilled or are they unskilled? Lastly, third question is, who are we going to produce it for? For whom to produce? Okay, so in the United States, basically, we produce goods for the people that have the ability to pay for it. Okay, so we produce way more Chevys than we do Mercedes-Benz, because there's way more people that can afford a Chevy than they can afford a Mercedes-Benz. We produce way more hamburger than we do filet mignon steaks, because way more people can afford hamburger than they can filet mignon steaks. Okay, so what we produce here in the United States is basically determined by who has the ability to pay for that. Unfortunately, healthcare is like that. Healthcare, basically who gets healthcare is the people who can afford insurance or can simply reach in their pocket and pay the doctor, and not many people can do that because healthcare is very expensive. Okay, so the three questions are what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. So again, in the US, we produce things for people who have the ability to pay for it. Okay.